Clive Barker Podcast, audio commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign,
Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 9.
Celebrations!
Okay, welcome. This is episode 358 of the Clive Barker Podcast, and we are returning to Clive Barker's A to Z of horror. Good evening, Jose.
Hey, Ryan. How you doing tonight?
Good. We're getting near the end, right? It's A to Z of horror. The chapter is W for Window, which is about Edgar Allan Poe. So we picked the 1964 Roger Corman movie, Masque of the Red Death.
Yes, 1964, one of the Corman Poe cycle movies. Oops, sorry about the explosive P there.
That back.
Let me put my little screen in front of my microphone. That's what it's for. One of my favorite movies, right? I mean, I know you're probably going to be watching. You were just talking about how many times we watched the movie, and how many times have you watched this whole movie, Ryan?
I watched it last night, but it went kind of late, and I fell asleep at the end, so... that was my first time seeing it. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's my favorite Edgar Allan Poe story out of all of them. So I guess I was comparing it a little bit to that.
And it is pretty short, so they kind of padded it for the movie with another Edgar Allan Poe story, right? Are you familiar with all the stories of Edgar Allan Poe?
Mostly, yeah. I think there's that epic poem Tamerlane that I'm not very familiar with because I didn't like that one.
Right. So for this one, they also added Hop Frog from Edgar Allan Poe, published in 1849.
I'm not familiar with that story, but he's the little he's the midget guy with the dancing,
the humpback. Yeah, sure. With the dancing Esmeralda girl or whatever. Yeah, so that they also kind of meshed these two stories together, which was interesting because this way they didn't have to actually pad it with something completely made up that was not Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah. And it kind of melded together pretty well with Prince Prospero's court. Yeah,
right. I guess we'll talk to that about that too when we get into the movie a little more. I bought it on iTunes for $14. You can also rent it, iTunes or Amazon Prime.
Right.
The rental price is like $2.99 or something like that. But I thought, well, if this is a good movie, maybe I should just own it. So I paid the full price.
That's a good thing. I have this movie in multiple formats. I think I'm watching a DVD version today. It's the same kind of length that you have, so it's probably the same version. But last year, this was put out in a 4K restoration. So last year, I think that in America, it was released in September 2020 by Shout Factory, the Blu-ray of The Masque of the Red Death. Mm-hmm. And they did a 4K restoration, and this was undertaken in 2018 by Martin Scorsese's The Film Foundation and the Academy Film Archive. Of course, Martin Scorsese started out with Roger Corman. I think one of the movies he made for Roger Corman was Boxcar Bertha in 1972, I think. Yeah, so Roger Corman was kind of a professor of a lot of people, like Francis Ford Coppola, Peter Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
A lot of directors started their career with Roger Corman. And so Shout Factory put it out, and they put out this 4K restoration, but also it was an extended cut. So all apparently the little cuts that were made on the movie when it came out in 1964 ended up being put back into that movie. So the Blu-ray that came out last year has that... or in 2020 has that extended cut.
Well, and unfortunately, that's not the version that we have, right? So we'll be watching the original.
Yeah, and I think in England, it came out by Studio Canal, which was also a 4K restoration, same copy with the extended cut. So if you have one of those, awesome. I'm sure you got a 4K restoration of this movie must be looking beautiful, but I'm watching a DVD version today, and you're watching it on iTunes.
Yeah. And we are paused at the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Lion, right? He's just about to start roaring, but he hasn't quite done it yet on mine. I'm 1 second in. The version we have is mine is 1 hour, 28 minutes and 45 seconds or 46 seconds. Something like that.
Yeah, mine has a couple more seconds than yours.
Yeah, and that might be just at the end or the
some weird logo or whatever. Yeah. So Hazel Court, right? Hazel Court is in this movie. She is she's playing like Prospero's girlfriend, and she wants to become a Satan worshiper. So yeah, we'll start talking about that when we do the countdown. But this time I'll let you start.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to hit play in 3, 2, 1, go. He just roared at me.
Leo the Lion.
Yeah. I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit.
American International, Roger Corman's company.
So one thing about this that kind of bugged me a little, and maybe and you had talked about how it was a mix of two stories, right? Because it also has Hop Frog in it,
right?
But the thing that bugged me was like the whole point of the Masque of the Red Death is all these rich people thought that they were above the rest of humanity, and that they were protected from this plague, and this sort of subverts that a little bit by, well, they're not just rich, they worship the devil.
Right.
Yeah.
So when they wrote the screenplay for this, they decided to make Prince Prospero a Satanist.
Yeah.
Make it a little more interesting.
Well, and that's definitely, 60s style to have, these high up secret Satanists.
Yeah. That drink baby's blood, probably.
Yeah.
So the opening sequence is very effective. I see this old figure gathering twigs.
Yeah.
Old woman, and she comes across a tree, and sitting under the dead tree is the Red Death.
And it's almost in black and white at this point.
Yes. And he's got a tarot deck in his hand, and is going to give her a card. So I think this was the first film directed by Roger Corman in England for tax reasons. He gave her a rose, and it's now spattered with blood.
Yeah. Yeah, don't take it, lady. Run. Run for it.
Yeah. So basically, she's the day of their deliverance is coming. Yeah, but their deliverance is death.
Yeah.
So with the Corman cycle, I think he made like 8 movies based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe.
I remember I definitely saw The Pit and the Pendulum, and we watched The Raven together for this
That's right. We had a commentary track. Yeah. That was a fun movie.
Yeah.
Is that a baby? Oh yeah, it's a baby.
Yeah, throwing mud.
Oh no, the baby's going to get run over. He's a little baby monk.
Yeah.
So the Corman cycle was 8 movies, and I think Roger Corman's favorite of those 8 movies was The Fall of the House of Usher and this one.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen The Fall of the House of Usher too.
Yeah. I also like The Tomb of Ligeia. That's also pretty well. Who am I kidding? I like all of the Poe cycle.
Yeah.
And then there's The Terror, which kind of is not a Poe story, but kind of almost gets included in that cycle because it was shot at the same time with the same sets, and they also had Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson, but it's not really it doesn't count except spiritually, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. I think I may have watched that for when we covered these chapters before, but we weren't doing audio commentaries.
I love the helmet of the guy in the back.
Yeah. He looks bored.
The eye holes in his helmet are too far apart, so he can barely see out of that thing.
Yeah, man. Vincent Price's Prince Prospero is such a jerk.
Oh, yeah. He's totally a villain.
Yeah, and the thing that bugs me is that this woman just kind of follows him around and through the whole movie pretty much, and just disapproves of him. But I don't know. She doesn't really get to fight back hardly.
Well, she's kind of kidnapping. She's kind of kidnapped by him.
Yeah.
I guess she thinks she can, with the power of her love and her faith, that she can like inspire him to be more merciful. But that is a lost cause.
Yeah.
So I found a American Film Institute article about this, and I looked up some references that were at the end of that. Mm-hmm. Oh, was that your chair?
Yeah, sorry, my chair squeaked.
And I saw some of the early things that came out in Variety, like June 1963, and this is my announcer voice. American International budgets $20 million for 24 films in a 12-month production schedule. The company has extended Roger Corman as producer-director with first movie to do, Masque of the Red Death. Nicholas and Arkoff finalized European co-productions. So this was one of those European co-productions. Shot in Elstree Studios in London.
Oh.
Where Image Animation started out in Elstree.
Right.
Yeah. Back then, you could have like an American star, an American director, but all the cast and crew had to be like British. And then they would all stop for tea, and that would drive Roger Corman crazy. Just like it drove, the guy who shot Blade Runner.
Oh, Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott. It also drove him crazy. Every American director who worked in England went a little crazy when the crew would say, well, it's time to stop what we're doing and have some tea. That's the old lady that got the red flower from the Red Death.
Yeah.
Oh, no. She's got Ebola. If you can see the blood, you're already too close.
Yeah, exactly.
If she just screamed in your face, you're already kind of...
Yeah.
Hey, we could argue that, spoiler, at the end of the movie, of course, Prospero has Red Death. We could almost argue that this is where he gets it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting way to look at it.
The thing that gets me here is that he says, well, burn the village down. It's like, it's not burning the buildings that's going to keep the Red Death from spreading.
Yeah, and then they come to his castle. It's like he just made it worse for himself.
Unless you're having your goons like kill everybody in the village or whatever.
Yeah, but they don't.
But they don't, of course. That would be even more atrocious.
They're following his instructions to the letter.
Yeah, it's not buildings that spread the disease, it's people.
Yeah.
And we're talking this in 2022. So boy, do we know about plagues, huh?
Yeah. That house cost me $50. You owe me a new house.
And you just had COVID like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
As we record this. So, yeah.
Yeah, that screwed up my vacation.
So Prince Prospero is about to do a lockdown of his own, right?
Yeah, right.
That's a matte painting up there with the castle.
And have a masquerade ball while everybody else outside is dying.
Yeah. It kind of reminds you of when there were big parties being done of people challenging the lockdown, right, in Los Angeles. And like some douchebag was doing a big party house, and the mayor of Los Angeles had to cut the power to his house and stuff a bunch of times.
Yeah. Or in Florida, there were like, at Fort Lauderdale spring break, they were doing like COVID parties, and what were they, like licking each other's faces or something? There was some stupid thing that people thought, well, let's just get it over with and get COVID now.
Spring break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in Sturgis they were doing coughing competitions inside the bars and stuff.
Oh my God.
I don't, But hey, so he brings Francesca to his castle. This is one of the parts that had a little cut here.
Yeah, because she had clothes when she started falling into the water, and then she didn't as soon as she hit the water.
Good catch. Good catch. That is a pimp bathtub right there.
It looks like pretty hot water.
Yeah. And it's got like those swans, I think. Yeah. Golden swans.
Right.
Hazel Court's got resting bitch face.
Yeah, and she's not his wife, I guess, but she sort of acts like she is.
Yeah, she's like, why'd you bring this little hussy into our castle?
Yeah. So a lot of the quotes from this movie I recognize from like metal songs and stuff. They get sampled.
Yeah? Like what bands sampled this stuff?
Oh, I think Lacuna Coil samples
Cool.
this.
There's a lot of iconic quotes
Yeah.
from this movie.
That quote, "I want you to remove it at once," was part of it.
Yeah.
And the God of love and light and hope.
So I found another issue of January 1964 Variety magazine in the Hollywood Production Pulse, which was kind of a page of gossips and news about what was going on with the movies. It was not gossip. It was more like, hey, this company is doing these movies. This company is doing those movies. So they said that Masque of the Red Death production started November 18 at Associated British Studios Elstree. And that was on January 1964. So I'm sure they're talking about production started in November of 1963.
Oh.
So that's when they started production on the movie.
Okay, so they were still
England.
like mid-production when they wrote that article in?
Yeah, it had just, probably. So it was 2 months in. But,
Yeah.
and I got the wonderful book by Roger Corman, How I Made 100 Movies in Hollywood and Never Lost a Dime.
Right, yeah.
And he's got a page here talking about the movie. I'll bring up some stuff as we go along.
Cool. That Alfredo's a real creep, too.
Yeah, he was a British actor, kind of a classically trained British actor. I think he was he thought of himself as being too good for this movie.
Oh, I was just thinking the character was a creep. I didn't know that the actor was
Yeah.
But he wants all these women to be innocent. And then he sort of ogles that Esmeralda, she's a child, right?
Yeah, she's supposed to be, right? She's supposed to be a young girl. And you see back there where he was walking, there was a pendulum that looks like a double axe.
Yeah, from the Pit and the Pendulum.
I really dig the candelabra in this movie because they got like white, blue, green candles, and all the candelabra looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great set.
They're probably showing off the fact that it's a color movie.
Oh, for sure, yeah. That whoever worked on this set really did a great job.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast before preparing for this. I was listening to a podcast, and some people said, this movie doesn't really feel like a British movie, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, to me, it kind of sounds a little bit like a Hammer production. With the sets and the way that the movie is shot.
Yeah, and with almost nothing shot outdoors. Everything's inside.
So this is where they mesh in Hop Frog into the Masque of the Red Death. Yeah.
And that dog who's there for no reason.
Yeah. Someone had an Afghan. Pedigreed.
Hey, put that dog in the movie.
Okay, all of a sudden I'm confused. I haven't watched the movie in a while, but I've seen it multiple times. I forget. Esmeralda is really a small girl, right? She's just playing to be like a small little person, right?
That's what I was confused about this when I watched it last night. Is like, is she pretending to be an adult?
I think so, because I think the Hop Frog story was like that.
Okay.
And Alfredo is.
Well, then they should have worked a little harder on casting then, if that was the case.
Yeah, I need to read Hop Frog again.
Yeah, I mean, because she's clearly a little girl, and I don't know why anybody would believe that she was not.
Yeah, I was just looking up. So in the book, Hop Frog and his best friend, the dancer Trippetta, is also a small person, but beautiful and well proportioned.
Well,
so,
this one is called Esmeralda.
Yeah, which I guess is kind of like a nod to Esmeralda from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe not. Yeah, Alfredo is a total jerk.
Yeah.
But I love the way that they mix the two stories because, of course, in a castle and a party, there has to be entertainment. And this is perfectly intertwined with this story.
Yeah.
Even though in the original Hop Frog, it was supposed to be a different king or something, right? Let me see. Yeah, I think it was a king. It was I don't know if the king ever gets named in that story, but it was a king, not a prince. So this is the part where he's giving a little bit of exposition.
Yeah, I got kind of lost in the in the movie for a second there.
So apparently he said that Roger Corman said in the book, AIP wanted more Poe, and though I felt the formula was starting to get stretched, I eventually decided to make 2 more. So in November of '63, I flew to London for The Masque of the Red Death, starring Vincent and Jane Asher and written by Chuck Beaumont. And for a while, he didn't really he didn't want to do the movie because Bergman's The Seventh Seal had come out, where Death is also a guy in like a black outfit with just the face visible. And he says he thought that he thought that if he had made that, people would say he was copying Bergman. So he ended up staying away from the story for a few years. To that guy.
Yeah, this
rolling
is so,
on the floor.
This is so bizarre. Every single one of them, he debases them, and they just sort of, take it in stride.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the guy, right? I mean, he's the rich
prince.
guy. They're all in submission of him. And at the same time, we probably enjoyed the debasement.
Yeah.
They're all Satanists, as we will see.
Yeah.
This dude is doing the worm.
Yeah.
That's not how you do the worm.
Worms don't have arms, jerk.
Yeah. Oh, this is so funny.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess people were more easily entertained back then.
Yeah.
That jewelry's got to be heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Hee-haw. Hee-haw.
Yeah. She doesn't do it right.
You turn into a little pony and imitate Rainbow Dash. Oh, no. And, of course, they couldn't show it, but probably if this was a real medieval party, at the end there would probably be like an orgy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it seemed like it was sort of implying that, but it never really went that far.
So in terms of the set and the costumes, Roger Corman says in his book, Masque was the most lavish of the Poe films. I used terrific sets left in the scene docks from Beckett and other historical epics and used some fabulous costumes. Also, my cinematographer was Nicholas Rogue, whose work on the film won him a Best Cinematography Award at a major European festival. I had a 5-week schedule, though with a slightly slower UK cruise. A little nod here at the tea parties and stuff.
Yeah.
It was actually closer to 4 US weeks.
Oh.
So that's how long it took for the movie.
Yeah, I guess for him 4 weeks is too long.
Yeah. And there were 2 things that happened while they were shooting this movie in 1963. He says 2 of the most memorable things I remember with the shoot had nothing to do with the actual film. The first was the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It was a great shock to us,
yeah.
and we felt strange being so far from home. The day of his funeral, we shut down production for a few minutes.
That was my aunt's, I think, 16th birthday that happened on.
Was it? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing that happened was And there's an article on the internet about this, I think I read. It says, the second involved another kind of historic moment. I had started going out with my Masque leading lady, Jane Asher, and we were having coffee on a Friday. But Jane showed up with a young companion. Roger, she said, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine from Liverpool, Paul McCartney. Paul's never been on a movie set, and he'd just like to see what's happening. Fine, let him hang around.
Wow.
Paul, she said, is with this singing group from Liverpool, and they're making their debut in London tonight.
Oh, man.
Well, Paul, I said, good luck on your big debut. Stick around and have lunch. I was in an expensive mood, I guess. I had no idea the Beatles were already the number one group around England. They had played everywhere but London. Indeed, the next day I saw the headlines all over the town. Beatles conquer London. So,
wow.
Yep.
If he'd known, he probably would have tried to put him in the movie.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? So here we have the different colored rooms that Prince Prospero had in his party. That yellow room behind. There's a part in the movie where he says something like, I had a guy prisoner in this room for a while. After he came out of it, he couldn't bear to look at the sun anymore.
Yeah.
In the yellow room. Yeah. It's a pretty short story, but I think every one of us who's read the Masque of the Red Death from Edgar Allan Poe has made it in his head, like the geometry of these rooms all communicating with each other. With a big coal braziers in between the rooms, and just every single room had a window, a tinted window, right? The same color of the room except for the black room, where the tinted window is tinted red. Yeah, the camera is kind of jiggling a little bit. Did you notice that?
That too.
A little too much. It almost looked like it was handheld, but it was probably just on a rig.
Yeah, maybe they hit a bump.
Yeah.
It ran over somebody's foot.
He's more attracted to the peasant girl because of her faith than, well, I guess both, right? She's cute and
he can corrupt her.
Yeah.
And she's already been corrupted, so she's no fun.
Yeah, she's like, I'm ready to join you in the final ceremony. Become the bride of Satan. It's just Vincent Price is such a rascal. When he plays a villain, he can be such a rascal in this movie. Yeah. It's just amazing. I think I should probably add this to the show notes. I was in the process of listening to this when we started recording. But there was a Glasgow Film Festival in March 2021 interview with Roger Corman talking about the Masque of the Red Death. Oh. He had just gotten his second shot of the vaccine. So you can imagine that conversation was pretty interesting.
Yeah. He's he was a great guy. I got to meet him at Texas Frightmare weekend. Not the one we went to, but the one I went to before that in like 2011, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and the line was huge.
Wow.
That was cool. And I watched his new movie at the time was Sharktopus.
Oh, awesome. I think I might have seen that one on TV. It's surprising that he he's not a guy who needs to be in conventions to have people line up for his autograph, but I guess he just did that for the fans. There was a little Dell comic book adaptation of The Masque of the Red Death.
Oh.
Yeah. I once had a cover, a little cut up from one of the pages as my cover image on Facebook, which is at the end where all the different colored robed entities are talking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a cool little comic book.
Don't accidentally set that dress on fire. Or curtain, or whatever it is.
The music in this movie is also pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that blood looks like candle wax.
It probably is. It probably is like corn syrup or something like that.
The blood in Dawn of the Dead looks like that, too. Has that kind of waxy look.
So Charles Beaumont, I think he was the guy who decided to make Prince Prospero a Satanist. He was one of the writers. And there was another guy who worked on this, R. Wright Campbell. He also worked on the screenplay. And there were a few different versions of this, some of which were, there was kind of like a lawsuit. Let me see if I can find that out for you. Yeah, so it was announced on February 15th of 61 that Roger Corman was going to produce and direct The Masque of the Red Death. A few months later, Roger released the adaptation of The Pit and the Pendulum in 61, okay, through his company. And then before, he wanted to release this movie in 63, but the production was delayed probably because he was thinking about that Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman, and he probably didn't want to, but he prioritized other movies like Premature Burial, Tales of Terror, and The Haunted Palace and the Raven, 63. And then there was a news came out in October 62 that John Carter, son of American painter Clarence Holbrook Carter, and Robert Towney had written drafts of the screenplay. But eventually Charles Beaumont and R. Wright Campbell did the final shooting script. And then it was weird because there was even like another project. There was a rival project. He had competition while he was making this movie from two rival adaptations of The Masque of the Red Death. One was from Woolner Brothers Pictures and producer Alex Gordon. And they also said, we're making an adaptation of our own. And we've signed Vincent Price for this version. And then those producers, Woolner Brothers and producer Alex Gordon, filed an injunction against the release of Corman's film on accusations of plagiarism. Of course, that was unsuccessful. And yeah, so. And looking into this movie, I also found out that there was a later version of The Masque of the Red Death with Frank Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's brother.
What?
It's terrible.
Oh no!
I scanned through it. It was horrible. It's kind of like a more like a kind of a modern, weird kind of modern take on it. It's just strange.
This is a weird scene here too. So you've got the black room with the red tint, and he's sleeping like he's a vampire, right? Is he in a coffin?
Yeah, he's like entranced in his satanic powers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a vampire, but
yeah, it has vampire sort of imagery.
It's perfect for that jump scare. I mean, when she tries to touch him and he opens his eyes, it's just perfect. He's just a peculiar dude. Prince Prospero, the original incel.
God.
He sleeps in a coffin because he's too edgy.
Right, yeah.
Yep. So day 2 of lockdown.
Yeah.
Remember when people were afraid that they could get or give COVID to their pets?
Oh yeah, right.
Like, and I'm not going to lie, that kind of crossed my mind when I had COVID and my cat kept insisting on laying on my chest.
Yeah, we were afraid we were going to give, because Indy had just gotten mauled by those 3 dogs. And so we were all sick, and we were supposed to be giving him medicine, and we're like, oh, we can't, it's too hard, and he runs away, and we're too tired.
That poor dog. I mean, he got mauled by 3 dogs. I forgot about that. You told me that. That was horrible.
It got sort of overshadowed by the... This is so weird. They don't really sew the falcon's eyes shut. Why can't they just put the hood over their face?
Well, I think they just put that stuff when he's on their hand, right? then they take it off and he flies off.
Yeah, but he's in his speech here. He says, "Do you know how falcons are trained? Their eyes are sewn shut."
Oh yeah, no, I don't believe they do that. No. That's just being dramatic.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they did that a while back, but I don't.
Yeah,
I think that would be very damaging to the hawk.
Yeah,
so
I can't. Yeah, who would be good enough to sew a hawk's falcon's eyes shut?
No, they just
put a hat.
They just
over
use
their
those
eyes.
things. Yeah, they just use those things. Yeah. It's just part of the drama, part of making it more horrible.
Yeah, just like your God blinds you with crosses. That's another line from that song.
Yeah, from Lacuna Coil.
Yeah, I think it's them. I need to look that up again.
That is a fancy card.
When I figure it out, I'll put it in the show notes.
Your mother was a shrew and your father smelled of elderberries. It's like, what? You want me to put on a mask to get in your castle?
Yeah.
Sanctuary. It's like, well, dude, our bubble is filled. Thank you.
Yeah.
Move on.
That's what
Times
you get
of the plague.
for being late, I guess.
They really kind of overplay the Red Death. I mean, it's like I mean, even with the Black Plague, right? Even with the Black Plague, and I understand that medieval cities were like horrible cesspools where the people would just throw their chamber pots into the street and the gutter and stuff, and there wasn't any like plumbing or running water. But if you were rich and had like a countryside house, you could probably just easily dodge this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, in the name of friendship, I'm gonna shoot you right between the eyes, dude.
Yeah.
And he just stays there and takes it.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't believe he didn't say like, no, please don't. Or he's like you don't see him getting out the crossbow.
Yeah. It's just a show of character of what Prosper will do to his friends.
He threw a little. Oh, I see. That's his sword now.
No, yeah, that was a cut.
Yeah.
It's like telling a madam, spare yourself the Red Death and just take your own life with this dagger. So this is the part that's really stupid. So like these two guys are being trained to fight by the soldiers in the castle so they can fight each other to death for the entertainment of the nobles. Yeah. And then they're just going to use the training that the guards are giving them to fight the guards and escape.
Yeah.
Which is like, who could have seen that one coming, right?
Yeah.
What a cunning plan, Baldric.
Yeah.
Crash course.
Yeah. Oh, I should have grabbed a shield. There we go. That shield looks a little phony.
It looks a little cardboardy. Yeah, it does. Probably is.
Yeah. That's okay.
Like those things you can buy off of Etsy that say Viking shield, and you look at it, it's like, that doesn't look real.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to find out. He's going to learn. So, more stuff. Let's see. There's going to be a few articles here about the movie and stuff that I found. I remember watching this movie. The first time I saw it was probably at night on TV. That's probably how I saw most of the Poe cycle movies. Yeah. I did get to see one of the Poe cycle movies in a theater, which was that anthology one that has, I think it's called Tales of Mystery and Imagination or something like that. Where there's like several stories. One of them is the guy who has a double. There's one with a guy who's a car racer and he loses his head. And there's another one. I forgot which one that's called. Tales of Mystery and Imagination, I think.
Those don't sound like Poe stories.
They are. Yeah, they are. They are.
Huh.
I'm trying to remember what's the name of that movie. Now all of a sudden I'm kind of drawing a blank. I know that. What's the name of that guy? He was Zod. What's the name of that actor who was Zod?
Oh God, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. Kneel before Zod.
Yeah, yeah. Jesus Christ, I know his name. Terrence Stamp. Terrence Stamp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like Terrence Stamp is in one of those. I think Terrence Stamp Poe movie. I'm using my Google Foo while we're doing this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Spirits of the Dead, also known as Tales of Mystery and Imagination. This one is I'm not sure that this is from the Poe cycle, actually. There's 3 directors. One of them is Roger Vadim. He adapted Metz-Zurgenstein. William Wilson is adapted by Louis Malle. And Toby Dammit, which is adapted by Federico Fellini. So that's a really good movie. It's got 3 Poe stories. And I got to see that one on the theater, but now that I'm thinking it's probably not a Poe cycle movie. Sorry about that. But I do recommend that. It's really good.
Yeah, he actually makes a convincing argument about Satanism, but his behavior is what sort of undermines it. You know, he's talking about his uncle or whoever it was that was a monk that tortured people for the Inquisition. And she goes, "Oh, I don't understand that. I have no learning," or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but still, he's not a poster child for embracing Satanism in any way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's totally just self-indulgent.
Yeah, so Hazel Court, she's been in a lot of movies. She's the one who plays the evil partner of Prince Prospero. She was in the Curse of Frankenstein as well.
This burn that she puts on her chest looks pretty realistic.
Yeah, she's dedicating herself to Satan. I think it's interesting that the black room is the one that's consecrated to this ritual.
Yeah.
With the black candles, which are also associated with witchcraft.
So she does all this, and she's like, "Hey, guess what? I'm better friends with Satan than you are." It's like, you just signed your own death warrant.
Yeah, witches and what's the feminine? What's the masculine part of a warlocks and witches, right? Witches are always more powerful than warlocks.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that every time I hear Corman talking about this movie, he always says how Poe was working with the unconscious mind, and he always maintained that Poe's settings were landscapes of the mind, that these stories took place in what Freud would later call the unconscious, and not in the real world. And it's true. I mean, for some of these, it really is very much so like that. I mean, you look at this story; it's more of a kind of a fable.
Yeah.
And even Corman didn't really use a lot of exterior shots, and even the ones that are exteriors are just stylized, like the dead tree at the beginning and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a hop frog.
Yeah. So I know he's going to talk him into wearing a gorilla costume, but I can't remember what the outcome of that is because I think I fell asleep for that part.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for you,
All
so
right,
I guess you'll find out.
We'll get there, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty atrocious.
All right.
Yeah, and this is actually based on another story which I will bring that up when it happens because I don't want to spoil it for you. He's like, oh, you're going to get all the women like screaming and excited.
Yeah.
But he's really just working on an elaborate revenge plan.
Yeah, because he slapped his friend.
Yeah. Hop Frog will do his last jest. So the cinematography in this is really good because it's Nicholas Roeg, and he's a CBE BSc, so he's honored in England.
Oh.
He's a great cinematographer. He did work in a lot of cool movies, and this was one of his first, I guess. Yeah, he was credited as a cinematographer on this one. He then went on to work on Francois Truffaut's Fahrenheit 451, another movie called Far from the Maddening Crowd. Yeah, he did a lot of good stuff. The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah, she just kind of follows the prince around, or goes to sleep. I mean, I guess now she's right. This lady wants her to get out so that she'll be the only one that Prospero wants.
Yeah. It's like she should have realized by now that Juliana does not want her. She does not wish her anything good at all.
Yeah.
She called for a demon, and a demon will come. When in a 2008 discussion in Video Watchdog magazine, just an idea of how cheap these movies were done. When he was doing House of Usher, AIP had given Corman $5,000 for the sets and $5,000 for the script. Wow. And I think this movie, they had like $200,000 for this movie.
Wow.
To do everything.
Which is probably the equivalent of $1 million now.
Yeah.
Well, here she's being honest, at least.
Right. So, of course, we're wondering what's going to happen to her. And I think this is a way Juliana's trying to find a way where she could get rid of her.
Yeah.
But
without
honestly,
making Prospero mad, because she just killed her, then
right.
he would be upset.
But at the same time, it's like people are thinking, oh, she's trying to help her escape. She's trying to help her. But, remember what the other guy was trying to get in the castle, because it was like, everybody's dying out here with the Red Death,
Yeah, it's not really helping her, and it's really just to get her out of the way. But it's convenient for her if she can really get her husband and her father and get out of there.
Sure, of course. At least they have a fighting chance, Here, they're just playthings for Prospero.
Yeah.
I found some interesting audiobook versions of Masque of the Red Death on YouTube. Oh. Yeah, one of them is read by William Boroughs, which is really pretty amazing. And I bought a CD back in the 90s. It was called Closed on Account of Rabies. Which has
I remember you talked about that before.
Yeah, and Gabriel Byrne reads the Masque of the Red Death in that double CD. So that's also a pretty good rendition of the Masque of the Red Death.
I wonder if Doug Bradley has read it yet.
Hey,
on his YouTube channel.
That is a good question. I am on the job right now trying to find out. Maybe we can suggest it to him.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he's read it. Maybe in those spine chillers things. I like how they make the castle look really lived in, because you see that statue behind her.
Yeah.
The head is covered in melted wax from the candles on top of it.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And she's being eaten alive by cobs. That's an Ernest line when he runs into a cobweb.
I found out the other day that there is actually a glue gun that can shoot things that look like cobwebs for set dressing.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like, what?
Yeah, that would make it more fun.
Yeah.
Pretend you're Spider-Man.
Yeah. So we see people here being tortured and kept in the dungeons, probably for Prospero's sadist pleasures.
Yeah. If you ask him about it, he'll just say, "Oh, Christians are worse."
Yeah. I'm just an old man. I've been in this dungeon for 50 years.
Yeah, rawr. That's how you greet somebody.
Yeah. Also, those bars are wide enough that they could just walk out of it.
Yeah, right.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
I love this. Okay, it's time to make the great escape.
Yep. I'm sure it's going to go off without a hitch. Oh.
Real dungeons were a terrible place to be stuck in because oftentimes they would be flooded with water coming up from the ground and stuff. So you'd always be like stepping on water and they just gave you swill and dry bread to eat. People didn't last long in those dungeons. It was really more of a slow death kind of thing. I like the escape music, right?
I was just thinking about that.
Sounds a little bit like those cartoon
Flight of the
soundtracks.
Bumblebee.
Yeah. Oh man, look at the shining red blood on the tip of that sword.
Yeah.
You could just see that super bright. I think they actually probably used paint for that.
Oh, maybe so.
Oh, there's another one. How did Prince Prospero? Oh, yeah, she told him. Okay, yeah.
Why did he say guard? Why didn't he just stab him?
Right. Like, excuse me, do you know the way out of the castle? How do you know that? They just did that downstairs.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, if you knew that was going to happen, why did you let it happen?
Yeah.
He's got powers.
He says at least one of them must pay for those sins, as if he was going to kill one of them anyway.
Oh, man, look at that boar head.
That's gross.
It still has, like, hair on the back of its neck. They cooked it like that. Pretty sure if they cooked it, the hair would be burnt
look at
to
that
crisp.
goose. It looks like it's made out of mashed potatoes.
Oh, I missed it. I hope they show it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget to put on those masks because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yep. The Lord of Flies. Wow, he's really laying it on thick, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think he really had a conversation with Satan to say, hey, can you protect these guys from the Red Death?
Nah. I think the ending of the movie is pretty clear in saying that this guy's just full of hot air.
Yeah.
I think he believes that, though, but, you know.
Yeah.
I think people are just... He's basically calling all his, like, party people, like, moochers and parasites. It's like, unworthy as you are, you're all safe here. And this is where the big battle to the death is supposed to happen. Some entertainment. Yeah, let's bring two dirty guys with swords hacking each other in front of us while we're having dinner.
Yeah.
What could go wrong? Am I the only one who's freaking out about the big pelt hanging off of his chair, laying right next to the open flames of the fireplace?
Yeah.
Okay, so the daggers. This is a game of Russian dagger roulette. One of them has a poison.
Yeah. I missed this part last night.
Oh, this is where you kind of dozed off?
Yeah.
Oh, you're like halfway through the movie.
I guess so. I thought I was farther along than that. But I don't remember this at all.
Okay, so first dagger, he's clear.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I always hated the idea of like countdowns in movies.
Oh.
Or like the self-destruct will happen in 49, 48.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
or the ship is exploding because
or the
they
reactor
shut off
is-
the coolant for the reactor.
yeah, the reactor is
alien.
like, is it like a time bomb? It blows up whenever it blows up. It's not, it's one of those tropes that's always been kind of silly.
Yeah. I
Okay.
always hate in like adventure movies when people are swimming through like elaborate caverns and through stuff and around things and it's like, man, they've been swimming for like 5 minutes. And it's always so it's unnerving for me.
Oh, yeah. Because you're like, there's no way I could hold my breath for as long as they're doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we talk about that I think you guys talked about this in the last episode, right? That certain things are harder to watch because they're more relatable. So like trying to swim around underwater for a long time is relatable to everybody.
Yeah, there's always a bubble somewhere where they come up for air halfway through, and it's just in the nick of time.
But the ones where they go like, oh, we have to swim through this channel to if we want to escape or we're gonna die, but they don't know how long it is or where it ends.
And that is why in every role-playing game, I always try to find an artifact that lets me breathe underwater, because there's a lot of loot underwater.
Yeah. In D&D, you can hold your breath. You just take your Constitution score, and that's how many minutes you can hold your breath.
Oh, man. The girl's father was going to try to get Prospero with a poison dagger, but he got stabbed with a sword.
Oh.
He just loves to make up rules and create pretexts about why it's going to get worse for you now. I mean, he's only a martyr if people remember what he did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure nobody inside this castle would ever, like, let people know that he died a martyr. But hey, you're setting me free. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, they act like the only place to go is that burned up village.
Pretty sure back in the day, people could just make a living in the forest by themselves if they wanted to. That couple in the background has been kissing throughout the whole thing. And now the guy's looking straight at the camera. It's like, oh, what's going on over there?
Oh, wow.
He's like, dude, we haven't even eaten anything.
Yeah.
This thing has just been taking place here. And now you're saying, well, go to your rooms. Like, there's no food on the table.
Yeah, I want to eat first. That's a good question.
Is anything I wish? He's oh, look, she's got the red rose, which is not just a symbol of love or Satan or whatever. She was hiding the upside down cross, but it's also the symbol of the Red Death, right? That we see at the beginning of the movie.
Yep. And right when and now he's going to show up.
Off with thee. Oh, they actually just put him outside of the gate.
Yeah,
so now he could just.
They didn't make him go to the village.
He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah.
Oh, woe is me. That's a cool castle, though. I wonder if it's a real place, or if it's just like a glass painting or a miniature, for all I know.
And is he in a real woods, or is this a stage?
I think this is a stage. I think this is like a sound stage.
Yeah. That's why it's shot close up.
Masque of the Red Death was not as big a hit as some of the other movies in the Poe cycle. Sam Markoff, who was one of the producers along with Nicholson, said the film was too arty-farty.
Okay.
I disagree. I think it's got a pretty good decadent streak in it.
It's got just the right amount of arty-farty.
Yep. Just the right amount. But the problem with doing one of my favorite movies is that it's hard for me to stop watching it to talk about it.
I'm having
sorry about that,
too. Especially the part that I was awake for this part, but I had dozed off for that. So, and actually, I just kind of missed it before. Why did he stab the father?
Because the father tried to stab Prospero with the remaining dagger, which was the poison dagger. So Prospero instead thrust the sword through the father.
Oh.
He kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And here's Gino talking with the Red Death. Yeah. I don't know if he understands that it is the Red Death, but
yeah, that's an interesting part here. I mean, he's got his hands are red.
Yeah.
He's not human. Why is he?
It's it's just a stylized dialogue thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just opening his heart and saying like, oh, I don't know what to do. And here's Alfredo putting on his monkey costume.
Yeah.
Which puts this movie in the category of an ape suit movie. Wow, that's straight out of the Halloween store.
Yeah.
And the little person looks like he's kind of jaundiced. He made some decorations on his face.
Oh yeah.
Like, is he trying to be like he's trying to look more Asian or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just want to wear a gorilla costume and bury myself in the mud.
Yeah. And bury myself in a nice cleavage. Well, the ladies are all like screaming.
Well, that was from Mule Skinner Blues, right? He wanted to wear a gorilla costume and bury himself in the mud.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow.
That was weird.
That was.
Yep, he does a bad job convincing them to turn around. He should just say, "Hey, I've seen it. She's just gonna kill you if you go up there."
Yeah, they're asking for forgiveness for what? I mean, the only thing that happened was someone in their village got sick, and then he had their houses burned down. But it's always like that, right? I mean, people sometimes they don't realize that they're being screwed over by the rich, and they just think, oh, if he takes away his support of us, then we're poor people, we can't do any better.
Yeah.
So we gotta make sure we're in his good graces. Indentured servitude.
Yeah.
That's a thing. And here's an hallucination scene that's really cool.
If they could just go somewhere else, don't go to the castle. Go to a different village.
Yeah. This is, I think to make this distorted look to the scene, they would actually project the film onto a warped mylar surface, and then they would shoot that to make the warped effect. It's pretty cool. It looks like a dragon. Yeah, it's strange that he doesn't really talk much in his book about this. Like I said, there's only like half a page or one a page.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just sneezed. I promise I don't have COVID.
That's one of the symptoms.
And all of a sudden, there's like, for some reason, a witch doctor dancing in this. Or like it's like an Aztec.
Yeah, this dream sequence kind of gave me this vibe that, foreign people are all evil or.
Oh, sure, yeah. Now here's another guy with a Kopek sword. I'm happy that you know what a Kopek is because you play RPGs. And also because it's a real sword.
Yeah. Kobolds usually have swords like that.
Oh, yeah? The little blue guys?
Yeah, they're red.
Oh, okay.
They're like little lizard people.
It's like she's being defiled by the demons, right? So like she's being defiled by a bunch of demons, and the demons just happen to be represented by
by foreign people.
Like this is a Kabuki guy, and then now here's another African guy dancing with feathers. That did not age well. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But even Star Trek was like that, right? I mean, the Klingons in the original series, the Klingons just looked like foreign people.
They did, yeah. They had those little weird mustaches and eyebrows, but they didn't even have a lot of ridges on their head.
No, that wasn't until later. Actually, one of the episodes of Deep Space Nine, they went back in time and they sort of got superimposed onto one of the Trouble with Tribbles episode.
Yeah.
And so they asked Worf, like, that's what Klingons used to look like? And he says, we don't talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. That there was some sort of thing that happened and then they started having ridges or whatever. So I think now that you mentioned Tribbles, that's probably the most alien-looking creature that I've ever seen in the original Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's Gorn.
He's still humanoid, right? I mean, that's the thing about even Star Trek Next Generation and every single Star Trek show. All the aliens are always like humanoid. I've never actually I don't remember seeing many that had important roles in the episodes.
And all their atmospheres are the same, pretty much. So if you can go to all of them without a spacesuit.
Yeah, let's send the away team.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and I think that they tried to solve that with one of the early Star Trek movies saying that God created all aliens kind of similar to each other.
Yeah, and there's an episode that explains that too. That there was one species that seeded the whole galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
So she came out of the black room into the white room. Now from this into the purple room.
Yeah.
Someone had to spray paint a lot of rooms for this.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we need to get more use out of these rooms. We put a lot of work into them.
Knowing Roger Corman, I wouldn't be surprised if these transitions are actually always the same room. They just repainted it.
Oh,
but
really?
I don't think so. No, probably not. Because when she opened the purple room, you could see the yellow doors. In the story, I think these rooms are supposed to be much bigger. Yeah. At least I got that vibe. These rooms are really tiny. Yeah. You could fit like maybe 6 to 10 people in these rooms comfortably.
And they love that Pit in the Pendulum clock.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a staple of like Poe stories, right?
Yeah.
It is a really like claustrophobic and disturbing story.
Yeah.
When you read what the guy goes through when he's like laying there and the rats come over and he starts trying to get the rats to he rubs the food on the rope so the rats will eat through it, but then the rats start biting him as well. And the pendulum keeps going down. When I was reading the original story, I was like, this is disturbing.
I think this scene is a little hokey. I mean, she could get away from that bird. She could fight back.
Nah, man. Satan sent that bird.
Yeah. And that scream is a little unconvincing.
Why does she have a fruit bowl on her head? Wait, did he sick the hawk on her, or was that because I think you hear something which sounds almost like the devil, right? Saying some words before she gets attacked.
Yeah, I think it's just him.
It's just him. Okay.
And his bird.
Hey, we brought the dead to your door.
Yeah, I know.
Let us in.
Yeah. Look what we have to offer.
Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing a cartload of dead people with a red death?
Yeah. It's hard to fault him.
I think the thing is, look, we're at the end of our rope, but it's do you think he cares?
Yeah.
He just barricaded himself into his castle with his friends and he's partying in there while you guys are dying. He does not care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, dude, if you don't want to get sick, don't hang around those people.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my daughter. You're kidnapping her. You must give her every chance, so you're going to sit her down on the cart with the dead people?
Yeah.
Good job, dude. Parent of the year right there. Grab your kid, go back to leaning up against the cart of dead people with a plague.
Yeah.
Must give her every chance to get infected. Dig a burrow. Oh my God. This is, take a hint. Take a hint, dude. I guess out of spite, I could probably just say, well, I guess I'll die here and rot in front of your castle then.
Yeah. There's already a pile of corpses right there.
Oh, and they're dead. Except for the kid.
It's funny. Yeah, none of them saw that coming.
You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
Yeah.
Aren't they all supposed to be rich too?
Yeah, he says that.
That's the thing, right? Why are there billionaires? Because once they were millionaires and they thought, hey, why not? It's like that Social Network quote, right? $1 million is cool, but you know what is really cool? $1 billion.
Yeah.
More money than you can ever spend in your entire life.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's dressed like an Arab.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a sultan. Yeah, like kind of an Eastern outfit that he's got going on there. Oh, well, not Eastern, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's got the black. Pretty cool outfit, actually. I don't know the name of that thing that's on his head. I know there's a name for that for the Saudi Arabians. They have that stuff.
He just killed everyone she knows. And she's like, I'm going to hold your hands now.
Let's dance.
Yeah. And I love this homemade grappling hook he's got.
At first, I thought it was a branch.
Yeah.
But then I realized
it is a branch, isn't it?
but it's kind of soft, right? It looks like a big thick rope.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think one end of it was tied to a branch, and then
It was
that's
tied to
supposed
a
to be
branch.
like a big vine or something. On
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
it. But it's obviously not really a vine. But
Great security Prospero has, huh?
yeah,
Look at that.
yep,
If the other guys had only like climbed the wall instead of just knocking on the door.
yeah.
Here's the Red Death again.
Yeah.
And I think at this point that Gino knows that this is the Red Death.
Yeah.
He understands that something supernatural. Oh, there it is.
Well, even that old woman, even though she was going to get the Red Death, she seemed to know and respect him.
Yeah. And also, speaking with the Red Death, you kind of get protected from it. It's like the Red Death can actually like choose to spare you as an entity. Here they call him Hop Toad, but in the original story, it's Hop Frog.
Oh, okay.
They give her a woman's voice, see, but it's obviously a child.
Oh, yeah.
The Afghan dog is just sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so unsettling to see a child speaking with a throaty woman's voice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be cool to see what happens to Alfredo.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So I think one of the rules of Prince Prospero for the masquerade ball was nobody can dress in red, even though there's a guy over there with a red kind of cloak. And another guy dressed in red with like a dog mask.
And there's a lot of people wearing red.
Okay. Yeah, I guess they didn't get the memo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least in the original story, it's like that. So I don't know if they actually says that in the movie.
He did. Yeah, he said don't wear red.
Right. I thought so. Here comes the big orangutan. In the story from Hop Frog, it's a bunch of guys dressed as orangutans. So it's the king and the guy who hits the girl and a few other like nobles that come in dressed as orangutans. And he's like, I'm the only one who can control this monster. And now he's like, I'm going to pretend to tie him up. Ha ha. See, it's so funny. I'm tying up the monkey. But, it's all moving towards an end.
Huh. There, you're laughing a little bit too much.
Yeah, he's tying him up to the lamp. And he's going to pull him up now.
Oh.
Hoist him up. And I think at this point, Alfredo is like screaming through the mask. I think he's realizing what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this isn't funny anymore. Oh, it's so funny. Yep. And of course, he's now... Let's give him some brandy. Oh, yeah, let's squirt some inflammable liquid on this guy.
I see. Wow.
Up. Hey, isn't this funny?
Oh, man.
Yeah, burning guy in the low-budget movie. Oh, in the original Poe story, it's even worse than this. It's like 5 guys burning.
Oh.
This is a practical joke, bro.
They're not laughing anymore.
Yeah, but Prospero didn't care either. He's like, huh. Yeah, he kind of broke her.
Yeah.
Okay, here he just kind of runs away from the middle of the crowd, but in the original story, it was much, much cooler. So in the original story, he brings the costume orangutans. He kind of brings them chained together, and then he they actually think that these guys are beasts or whatever, and Hop Frog attaches a chain from the ceiling to the chain around the bend of the costume, pulls them up with a pulley, and then once they're up there, he kind of like holds a torch, and because they're wearing those flammable costumes, the 8 guys start blazing, and in the shrieks of multitude who gazed at them from below, horror-stricken, without the power to render them the slightest assistance. Finally, before escaping through a skylight with Tripetta to their home country, Hop Frog identifies the man in costume. I see now distinctly what manner of people these maskers are. They're a great king and his 7 privy counselors, a king who does not scruple to strike a defenseless girl, and his 7 councils who abet him in the outrage. As for myself, I am simply Hop Frog, the jester, and this is my last jest. That's the end of the story. It's pretty cool. Okay, so finally they come face to face with the Red Death.
Yeah.
And at
I saw
first,
this part.
Oh, you did? Cool.
Yeah.
He thinks that this is a servant of Satan, or a representative of Satan. At first, he thinks it's a doctor. This is great. You can see the window with a red light streaming through it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now he thinks it's Satan.
This is almost a little bit Prospero's search to contact Satan is almost the same as the story from the Books of Blood, Down Satan, right? Yeah. Where Gregorius creates like this debased, defiled place on earth to see if the devil would come and visit him.
Just so he could get God to rescue him from Satan.
Yeah. But I always wondered, was that really what he wanted, or did he just really wanted to meet the devil?
Well, it's interesting. It's about how, going extreme religion can turn you the exact opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he wanted to see God so much that he ended up meeting the devil.
Yeah.
I think in March of 2020, I had this screenshot as my pandemic lockdown cover photo on Facebook.
It's a weird looking mask.
Yeah, it's got some chains around the eyes, and it's got these
like
golden tassels.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this dance is amazing. When the Red Death kind of raises its arm. The Totentanz, the Dance of Death. There's a series of woodcuts by Hans Holbein from centuries ago where he made the Dance of Death, where it's like how death comes for everyone, regardless of whether you're a peasant or a rich guy or the bourgeois. Death comes and takes everybody. And you have skeletons playing the drums and dancing.
Oh, wow.
It's a moment frozen in time here where everybody's now just kind of a puppet of the Red Death. All the revelers.
And they don't start dancing until they've already been infected.
Right. They have no agency anymore. They're just being puppeted.
Yeah. They may be dead already.
The reaction of Prospero is that, oh, cool, okay, well, I brought all these souls to Satan.
Yeah.
It's like, weren't those your friends? He's like calling out his bluff, like, dude, you're just too edgy. He's asking for the girl to be spared. I think the Red Death already planned that because the Red Death told Gino that he was going to bring Francesca. It's not really charitable because he's thinking he's going to keep her as a slave.
Yeah. So weird.
I love it. I love this ending. It's just...
Well, it's her character. I don't get, why is she like missing him now?
Well, she's pious. He may not be merciless. He might be merciless, but she's not. She's kind of sorry for what he's... Yeah. She understands what's about to happen. So it's, divine is to forgive, right? Death has no master. That's a cool quote.
Yeah. Wow.
There's a lot of quotes here at the end. Like when he says that I have no face, you can only see my face in the moment of your death.
Yeah.
Which ends up being his own. In the original story, of course, the Red Death doesn't wear a red robe. It wears like a white shroud, right? It's like a mummified corpse wrapped in a shroud, white shroud, but just spattered with red from the blood.
Yeah.
Of the disease.
And
so
this is kind of like Dawn of the Dead here with all the reaching hands pulling him down.
Yeah, but before the actual Dawn of the Dead, right? Because
yeah.
I think this is 64. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead is 79.
70s, yeah. He's getting his just desserts. The colored lighting just overpowering everything.
Yeah.
Here's some handheld camera work.
Yeah. Just a couple of seconds. This is a cool ending. It also reminds me a little bit of the books, the Book of Blood and Jerusalem Street.
The dead coming to claim the guy, yeah.
And then writing on him with the shards of glass and nails and stuff.
How he's the last one standing. It's like the Red Death wants him to see everybody around him die before it's his turn. So it prolongs the horror.
Yeah. And the Red Death also reminds me of how spoilers bleed, right? Because their skin sort of just sloughs off, and they bleed all over the place from the tiniest little things.
Oh yeah, I mean, red plagues and bleeding diseases have always been in like fiction, right? I mean, starting with this one, there's another one I think from Jack London. There's another one about the Red Death, isn't there? Like a story that he wrote. And there's a real life one, which is Ebola.
Oh yeah. Like
to this day, I feel like we've been very lucky dodging Ebola, because if Ebola ever became like widespread, we'd be screwed.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible disease. I feel anything that pushes the blood out of your body is a repulsively violent disease, right? Wow, such a great quote there.
Yeah.
And there's the blood dripping down his face. It's a physical death to follow his soul's death.
Yeah.
So at the end, we see the survivors. We see the little girl, the last surviving girl from the village. And this is totally made up, though. This part is not in post story.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's the Blue Death. My victims get choked to death and they turn blue. There's the yellow fever.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm just saying that.
Wow. Yeah, I totally didn't see this part.
They're saying how many they killed where they walked.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like peasants and princes. And there's more coming in. Yep. Tiny Dancer, which later would become a Elton John song.
Tony Danza.
Oh, yeah. Sic transit gloria mundi. I like it how all the other deaths come over and say, ooh, I killed 10,000. I've killed 15.
Yeah.
I only left 5 alive.
So they're all messengers of different kinds of death, I guess.
That's what I get out of this, even though this is not in the original story. So, but I think it's a nice touch at the end here to see these entities walk in the world. But at the same time that they were vectors of disease or vectors of death, there's the part where, the Red Death asks Vincent Price, why are you afraid to die? It's like your soul was dead long ago. But at the same time, death itself is not a horrible thing, right? It's how you die. It's what happens before you die. Because when you die, it's a release of all of your problems and illnesses.
That's kind of the thrust of the death character in Neil Gaiman's Sandman stuff, right? Is that she's a mercy, and she puts a stop to suffering. Oh
yeah, did you see the images from the upcoming
No,
show?
I haven't watched any. I've just seen screenshots of the actors, but I haven't watched any trailers yet.
Yeah, I think there's some images and stuff. Should check out Neil Gaiman's Twitter, I think.
Yeah.
There's some stuff there to see. It looks good.
People are arguing with him about the casting, of course.
Oh, yeah, and that's going to be inevitable. Everybody has their own, dream cast in their minds. And then when someone creates a superposition of what the character is actually going to look like, let's say the wave function collapses and people are not happy with what they get.
Yeah.
That's inevitable. Photographed by Nicholas Rogue, BSc. I like this ending with the tarot cards.
Yeah, this is neat. You don't see animated stuff like this in old movies like this, especially in the end credits.
I'm not sure that this is animated entirely. It looks like it's just filmed in high contrast and then put a red tint on top.
Hand?
Yeah, I think it is under very hard lighting and very high contrast. But I don't know. It might be an animation.
Wow.
All characters and events are fictitious, and any similarity to persons living or dead is entirely coincidental.
Yeah.
No kidding. Hey, there's Roger Corman's name.
Yeah.
I can see why, Clive would love this movie.
Yeah.
Directed by Roger Corman. I mean, you can't like cinema and not like some Roger Corman movie, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like you can't really go through the history of cinema without stumbling or stopping to look at something made by Roger Corman.
Yeah.
Or someone who worked for Roger Corman, or someone who learned how to make movies with Roger Corman.
And that's the end of the credits. Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
I think I got sucked into it a little bit more than I was planning, but...
What was the letter for this one? Was it
W?
W for...
Window.
Window.
Yeah, so then we have X for Xploitation, and the Tingler is the next one.
Oh, Vincent Price is in that one too, right?
I don't know. I've never actually seen that movie.
Oh, okay. I think the Tingler is with Vincent Price. Let me look that up. Okay, and what else is coming up next?
And we've got more news and interviews, and we'll come back to Jericho Squad as soon as we set a date for that. And we're working on we're working on interviews. We talked about that before, but we're still
we're still working on that. And yes, Vincent Price is in the Tingler. I've seen that movie years ago, so it'll be fun to revisit that.
Yeah.
I hope that you've enjoyed this commentary track while watching The Masque of the Red Death. And what do we usually say, Ryan?
And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to teepublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.